Welcome to Shawn and Carter Have a Podcast. My name is Shawn.
And I'm Carter.
And we're peeing ourselves over the terrifyingness that is Marble Hornets this week.
It's so scary.
Season 2 is just so much more engaging and horrifying.
Yeah, it's because they thought it through before they started.
You mean... Oh, wait, but this is real.
Oh, well, yes, that's true.
I just mean that everything is scarier.
It is scarier. They've really turned everything up to 11.
But this one goes to 11.
This one goes to 11. I've got an XK CD for that one. I'm just gonna say that I've got it, and I'll be in the
Okay, first thing in the link dump.
And we'll talk about Marble Hornets in a little bit. But we got a lot of stuff this week, Sean. I gotta really try and be timekeeper-esque.
Yeah, despite I would say a lack of corrections and comments, you seem to have a lot of things you want to correct from. You're going to make some editor's notes on our last podcast.
Yes. So Sean and I have mentioned this before. I listen to all the way through our podcasts, and usually I've caught a couple things, like the whole derivative thing back on SCHP34 and a few other things here or there. And I noticed that last week I was particularly off my game and said a lot of incorrect things, and I wanted to correct them at the top of the show. So, first things first, someone called me out that I was sort of half wrong on this one. I said that the design on Google Play, there's Google's potential iTunes, which won't actually work, as far as I'm concerned, for any number of reasons. I complained about the design, and I said that they're using multiple different fonts, and then it had all these weird things going on, and someone said, no, it doesn't. And I looked in the comments, and I was like, yes, it does. I was there. I saw it. And I went back, and they had changed the design. So I'm just gonna claim that Google changed their design because they listened to the podcast.
So we were right and wrong.
I was right and wrong. So I was right if you had gone and...
If you can go back in time, like a week and a day, you'll see the difference. Right
now, it looks better. Not great, but better. So I didn't know the name of my local PBS affiliate, which is lame. It's WOSU, and it broadcasts from Ohio State University, one of the things that I love.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
Yeah. So I didn't have to ask my mom when I went through again. I'm like, it's WOSU. What are you doing, Carter? You're just dropping the ball. I called Abraham Lincoln Vampire Killer Abraham Lincoln Zombie Killer. I'm really surprised someone didn't catch me on that, because that's pretty popular.
I didn't even think about it. Just went right over my head.
We were talking pretty fast at that point. I was just like, I don't know what's going on there. So the Barbs, and if you'd like to clear up how to pronounce your name in a comment to this video, that'd be cool. He or she sort of cleared up something that I was just kind of unclear about and I
helped with the confusion with my lack of programming knowledge.
Yeah, well, we both have severe lack of programming knowledge. There is a logical implication of then when you're typing in an if statement with the open paren. That's if open paren, and then there's stuff in there. The open parenthesis is then in
There we go.
There we go. Thank you for clearing that up. That was sort of just sloppy work on
I can tell you where I got the then from, because it was totally a thing I learned. It's from Basic.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's an if then, and then there's an else if.
Yes.
And an else. So that I remember learning that confusing bit of programming when I was like, I don't know, 8 or 9.
Sure.
When I was programming my 386 to have its own startup sequence with a batch file. I totally did that.
Well, I never learned Basic, but I
did. Thanks, Dad.
Well, that's kind of awesome. If I'm writing anything, it's probably in Python, and that's if then and else if, and I also write a lot of SQL for as part of my job, and there's also logical. That's not a programming language, but
it uses syntax.
Yeah, one of the in the select clauses, there's this case when, which is basically if then, but for some reason it's case when.
In the case that.
Yeah, so it's for like counting things and whatever. So I write those a lot. The Barbs also brought up something that I didn't mention about why Google Play won't work, and it's we were talking about different screen sizes and different resolutions and different versions of Android, but something that we didn't bring up, we've talked about before, is that on top of all of that, the carriers can skin their products, and they have to update that too, and they kind of don't do that very frequently.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of times, you just can't get certain things to work with those particular skins. And I didn't know this, but I think the Barbs mentioned this, was if you root your Android phone, which is the Android-y term for jailbreak,
Right.
if you root your phone, a lot of applications that you put on it won't work on it anymore because it's like, we won't work on a rooted Android phone. I did not know that.
It's kind of like an OEM thing.
Yeah, so that's lame. Not all lame things that lead back to Google.
I've noticed something after we talked about Google Play and stuff. Whenever I upload like a drum cover or something that has music that is not mine in it, YouTube will automatically attach it to that artist and be like, you can buy this. And under the video, even though YouTube is owned by Google, it has links to not just Google Play, but also the iTunes store. I don't know why. Unless maybe it's a non-competitive thing.
They might have a deal with Apple. It's really interesting the like different sides of these companies that, on the one hand, Samsung is really going after Apple because they are the distributor of record for Google phones because they make the Nexus phones, which is like the Google phone. But on the other hand, they make all of this high-tech display technology that Apple buys.
Right.
And,
it's like there are different parts of the company that operate almost independently of each other.
Yeah. So.
This part of the company is not mad at Apple, and this part of the company is mad at Apple.
Right, and it sort of gives you a little bit of insight in kind of, the businessy business side of this. Samsung could try to screw Apple on the display stuff, but they make so much money out of it that they don't because
it would be stupid. It would be stupid to do that. It's good business.
Yeah, the value proposition there, just isn't there to like try and, use that part of your business to extract concessions from Apple or something like that.
Is Samsung the one making the Retina display?
I don't know. I know that they make displays that Apple uses.
Okay.
And I'm also not sure if. Well, we'll do follow up next week on what they actually get from Samsung. I don't know.
There we go. First thing to follow up on next week.
Yeah, I'll start my new text file for SCHP34. Okay, well, speaking of Google, and now we're not exactly in follow up. We're just sort of in like short things that I want to complain about before we get to the main stuff.
We want to talk about things that the company's doing, that portions of the company are doing that maybe. Just go. Get it off your chest.
So, Google announced that it's had this internal project, and they're like teasing it, and I'm just like, you can just imagine like every other word I'm saying right now, I'm like putting quotation marks up in the air. They're teasing this Project Glass. It's this.
It's been rumored for a couple months. Everyone knew it was coming.
Yeah, it's glasses that basically give like a heads-up display sort of thing that you can wear that has like a camera, and then somehow there's like technology in there to make a computer work in these glasses, and then it projects stuff about the world, and it's all
turns it into augmented reality.
Yeah, it's all social and whatever. And the video is cutesy, and it's got like fun indie music playing underneath it, and whatever. It's fine. I can't stand this video. And the reason why, and maybe Google will prove me wrong, I doubt it though, is this is just a fantasy. This is an idea. Like, wouldn't it be cool if we could have this stuff? And yeah, sure, that would be cool. But the whole idea of designing a product is like dealing with real world limitations and like making something that someone could actually use. Like, concept cars are interesting, but they never get built, and no one actually really cares about them very much because you can't buy them because they don't work.
I thought this was interesting because I feel like if this were a real thing and this video, everything that's in it were real, then first of all, we're living in the future. And second of all, That concept video of the iPad HD being used in all kinds of ways that it doesn't work, that like special effects team made, then that would be what I was looking for next week.
Sure.
It's too cool to exist. It's just too cool.
I don't really think that this is ever actually going to get made. So a lot of the like my like anxieties about this product, like I'm not giving a lot of weight to, because I just don't think this is ever going to exist. A lot of people are talking about like, oh my gosh, this is like gonna this is bad. Google is gonna be like snooping on you in the real world, and it's just gonna like try and monetize literally your eyeballs. I've talked about like your eyeballs before, but metaphorically. Now it's like they're actually trying to get at your eyeballs.
Yeah, there's a couple parody videos I'll make sure I throw in of people using these glasses and either being inundated with advertisements or being distracted by like someone making a call with you so that they walk right into a lamppost or something.
Right, exactly. And I think that those are like maybe legitimate points, and if this product ever does get made, maybe we'll talk about that. But right now I don't think that's an interesting conversation, because this is a fantasy. Microsoft is well known for making these fantastical concept videos of products that they never ever build. Like, do you remember the Courier? Did you ever hear about that?
No.
It was a tablet that was 2 screens, and it had a pen, a stylus, but it actually looked pretty cool the way everything worked on it. Problem was, and the team no longer exists, the technology to do all of the cool stuff that they wanted to do didn't exist, and they just never made it because it was too hard, and they had other priorities that they focused on. It's like,
that's where we are with this. This relies on artificial intelligence that does not exist.
Yeah, and just the technology isn't there, so it's not very interesting to me. Apple would never do a concept video. They wouldn't have in like 2005 done a concept video of the iPad, even though they were working on it, because they're just like, no, we're gonna like make something that's really cool that we like, that works, and we're gonna sell it, and people will love it.
Yeah, usually when they make a video showing off the features of something, it's so cool and it does those things for real that's all they need. They don't need to do concept.
Exactly. Someone I think. I'll see if I can find the article, because this is not an original idea of mine. But someone, I think, at CNN in like their money section, they were talking about how, yeah, Google may never do this video, but it is one of the, it is something of them that they're trying to put out there to make people like feel good about Google again. And it's, maybe it's a good thing that
maybe it's a PR move.
Exactly, and maybe it's a good thing that they recognize that they are having issues with people connecting with them emotionally. I would like that to like feed into the products that they're putting out there. But at least if they are aware that there's this problem, that maybe that's a good sign.
I kind of mentioned it on 5 Things because it was like a week after we had been complaining about Google doing something that we were afraid was evil. And that a week later, they released this awesome Street View utility to tour the Amazon River. And like, there's nothing in it for them. Except for hits. Like, they're not being malevolent. They're not like exploiting the local people or anything. They just went and took some pictures and put them online for you to look at. And they have absolutely no ulterior motives. And there are parts of Google that are like that are not like so concerned with targeting you and delivering all the advertisements right to your eyeballs and everything.
Literally.
They have like self-driving cars and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Google is very interesting in that it had enormous value expand very rapidly, and then it didn't know what to do with it. So in response to that, in the early part of the previous decade, they have all this money coming in. Like, what do we do with all this money? They just decided, well, let's try everything. And no limits. Everyone, go make whatever idea you have, and maybe we'll get something awesome like Gmail. Maybe we'll get kind of like a flop like Google Wave, or there are a lot of flops.
And that's pretty much what happened. Like, everyone different teams had different visions about what they could try and what was possible, and some of them succeeded and some of them failed.
I mean, in some ways, Larry and Sergey are kind of like the Medicis of, this modern era. They got all this money, and then they're just like giving it away. They're basically giving it away for free to people in their company, in the hopes of awesome things coming about. But it's like,
Go invent
search is
something.
exactly, search is always going to be like hugely,
Give
or
us a
well,
patent we can own.
yeah, exactly. Search up until, now that we've gotten to this like sort of social pivot, search was always going to get them a ton of money and still going to get them a ton of money. And it's like they're never ever going to be able to
It's not
spend that
going
on
anywhere.
the business. Yeah, they're never going to be able to just like rapidly expand like certain areas of the business, like other than, like building data centers and doing like the boring things that companies do that I find very interesting, but like it's not very interesting to talk about. It's like, yeah, go take a couple $1 million and see if you can make this like glasses thing or whatever.
And they've been ever since the video came out. They've had like people in the company have been walking around modeling them as if they're actually doing something, which I doubt that they are. Just a mock-up.
If they do anything, and I don't doubt that they might, because you can get a whole computer into something pretty small.
Yeah, I mean, all you need is a cell phone capable device in that little like earpiece.
Yeah. I I don't doubt that they can get that working for sure. What I doubt is that it's like this experience that they presented in that video.
Yeah, you can have like pop up, like push notifications could pop up and stuff, but the way this video works, it's like looking at what you're looking at and it's interpreting things in ways that it almost like it seems like it would take a person to make these leaps of like looking at a poster of some upcoming concert and being like, remind me to buy tickets, and it's like, oh yeah, I see that you're looking at that poster, I will remind you to buy tickets for this event that I'm staring at.
Yeah. I mean, there is not Siri in the new iPads that can totally have Siri because they have the same processor as the 4S. And the reason why is because it is just too much for Apple to process your speech and send it across the internet to their servers and then interpret just your speech and then spit something back. Like they are really, really worried about running out of bandwidth and capacity to handle that. And that's just speech. This is like everything you're looking at.
Right.
And can you imagine like pulling down everything you're looking at and then pushing it? There's no way that you could do this on the device. It's not for a little while. So it's got to be going back to a server somewhere, and it's like you're going to be pushing all of this video, and it's like it's just kind of, I don't know, it's crazy.
I imagine that one day this augmented reality will be a possibility, but I don't think it's today or tomorrow or next week or this year.
No, I don't think that. Yeah, I think it's soon, but yeah, not very soon. One thing that might be coming pretty soon, and I had not thought about this, was, so Apple TV, blah, blah, blah. I hate talking about that because I just really wish that they weren't. I hope that these rumors aren't true and that they're not actually doing this, but maybe they'll impress me. I don't know. Yeah, it's worrisome to me. But a lot of theories about Apple TV include some Siri-like device that lets you talk to your TV and say, like, hey, do this, hey, do that. And something that some people have thought about is if your TV can listen to you, why wouldn't at some point it start listening to you and giving you advertisements based on the things that you're talking about?
Yeah, like Facebook.
That's gonna happen. Yeah, that's gonna happen. That will almost certainly happen. You're saying, "Oh yeah, our anniversary is coming up, and I'm just trying to think of a good place for me and the wife to go," and then it starts giving you targeted advertisements of like fancy upscale restaurants in your area.
In Minority Report, you've seen?
Yes.
Tom Cruise, after he's gotten his eyeballs replaced, walks into a Gap, and there's like a TV screen right as you walk in, and this like model comes up and starts talking to him. And the reason it's important that his eyes were replaced was because it uses the retinal scan to know who he is, and because he has someone else's eyes, it thinks that he's like, it's like Mr. Yamaguchi or something. It's like, hello, Mr. Yamaguchi. How did that women's lingerie work out for you last time you were here? And that's what's going to happen with these advertising devices. They're going to be like, this is what he bought last time. This is what he's talking about right now. Maybe I can infer that he wants to buy these cargo pants.
Did we talk about the creepy Target advertising?
No, we didn't.
On the air. Oh my gosh, like we're just going down the rabbit hole, but like yeah, no, there people can do creepy things with data right now without any like additional technology. There are very large, sophisticated database applications and data whole platforms that gather this data and use real whiz bang technology to find links and find associations between that, and then use that to micro target, advertisements and products to you. Target, for instance, can tell based on your history of purchasing things, if you're a woman, if you're pregnant, and at what point in your pregnancy you are.
Whoa, that's awesome.
Because when you're pregnant, you stop buying certain types of food, you stop buying alcohol as much, you start making purchases like odorless, scentless oil to like rub on your belly or whatever. And as
Something
you
that
move
pregnant
through,
women do.
right, that most people don't do, and that they do after certain things, like understanding this data holistically. Like, yeah, she stopped buying these sorts of unhealthy things for baby. She started getting these types of vitamins. She started buying these types of other products. It can figure out like, yes, you're beginning to get pregnant, and then you make other purchases like baby clothes and cribs when you get much closer to the end of your pregnancy. And actually, what's really, really interesting is Target a while back sent some advertisement to this 16-year-old girl for a whole bunch of baby stuff, and her dad found it, and he went into the Target with the advertisement, and the manager wasn't there. He talked to a sales associate and was like, "Why are you sending my daughter this advertisement for baby stuff? Like, my daughter is not having sex. Like, this is ridiculous. I don't appreciate this type of advertisement. Good day, sir." And then a couple days later, the manager called the guy because the associate like filled out a thing and it was like they wanted to talk to a manager. You went around and he was like, "Hey, hello, sir. I'm sorry I wasn't here. I wanted to call and personally apologize for whatever happened." And then dad said, "Oh, well, I have to apologize. I guess there's been some things going on in my house that I wasn't aware of."
Oh
And
my god.
anyway, sorry about that. The dad didn't know that
Target knew that she was
Target.
pregnant before her dad did.
Yeah. And Target does this really interesting thing. So, like, they want to sell you baby stuff based on them thinking that you are pregnant, right? And if what they found because of, like, this dad situation is if you just send an advertisement with a whole bunch of baby-related stuff, it kind of creeps people out because they're like, how do you know that I'm having a baby?
Where is the camera in my house?
So what they do instead is they take the baby stuff they want to sell and then they put next to it like something completely random, like a lawnmower or like a knife set, so that you're like, I'm pregnant, and you read through the Target advertisement, you're like, I don't really want knives or lawnmowers, but ooh, this baby stuff is perfect. I'm gonna go now, and you don't get creeped out by it.
And Target sits there and taps their fingers and goes, "Yes."
Excellent, good. So the future is now on that sort of stuff. Like the delivery of that is the technological barrier that we're butting up against. I think Target would love if they could do this right on your TV. I mean, they certainly can do it on your computer, but I think they would love to do it in other ways. And here's Facebook and Google and Apple getting new ways to deliver advertisements to people, and we're just all gonna sit back and take it.
What else are we gonna do? We like our devices.
It's true. One last thing on correcting things that I said that were wrong.
This will be our Captain Science segment for the week.
This will be the very short Captain Science thing. So, influenza, very deadly virus. Shawn and I were talking about influenza last week, and we mentioned the
kind
Spanish...
of out of our butts, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't have the numbers, and I should have just brought up the Wikipedia page, but I didn't, and I apologize for that. So, we were talking about the Spanish flu, the flu of 1918, the Downton Abbey flu.
Right.
Well, I said that 18 million people died, I thought, and I was off by a little bit. It was somewhere between 50 and 100 million people died.
That's a lot of
from the Spanish
people.
flu, and 500 million people were contracted that flu, which was 27% of the entire global population.
It's deadly.
It's deadly. Another thing that I failed to mention was that strain of flu is H1N1, the flu that everyone was concerned about becoming a pandemic in 2009 and was sort of the impetus for contagion. And then I had one final thing on influenza that I wanted to bring up. In the United States, somewhere around 40,000 people on average every year die from the flu. That was something that I didn't know, and I was fairly surprised by it. That sounds pretty high.
Crap! Yeah, that is.
That's
a lot of people.
to give some context, and once again, I don't have the statistics, so maybe I'll have it for next week. That's close to the number of people who die in car crashes every year. Yeah.
Viruses are scary things, man.
Let me walk that back. I don't know if that's how many people die in car crashes. I will find that number because I know that. Now I'm starting to doubt that. Strike that, reverse it.
Car accident, fatalities, America.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Sean. So, we have some random questions, but before we get there, I just wanted to once again thank Elaine and Ron.
Yeah, you're right.
It is around
42,000 people last year.
Boom! Yes! I knew it!
Yeah,
Sorry.
You're exactly right.
Yeah, that's scary. Because you think that, there's a lot of advertising, like PSAs about like don't drink and drive, don't speed, buckle your seatbelts, and we're talking about in America that is an attempt to reduce the number of people who die in car crashes, and that number is equal to the number of people who die from the flu. I don't feel like that there's as much. Maybe I'm wrong because I don't watch TV, but I don't feel like there's as much like PSA money that gets behind like flu vaccines and stuff.
I feel like schools and workplaces do a pretty good job of like encouraging washing your hands and like not coughing on people and stuff. Like at work, every time at the place where I work, every time we get to flu season, they kind of like remind us like make sure you're washing your hands and don't come to work if you're feeling under the weather because it's just a rabbit hole.
Yeah, that's true. I remember in 2009 at the job that I had at the time, several people got the flu, and that was H1N1, the flu that killed, maybe somewhere less than 100 million people in 1918. We got like a crate shipped in of antibacterial stuff, which is I'm always like, yeah, but that's not going to stop the flu because the flu's a virus, but whatever. It's security theater, but I remember like a legit crate, and everyone had to like. Everyone got one. Like, you had to have one.
You start wearing face masks like you're in Japan.
Yeah, or in Contagion. Well, before we get to those random questions, I wanted to thank Elaine and Ron again for recording a response to our podcast. They're not podcast. They're unpodcast.
The unpodcast.
The unpodcast? Do you guys like that? Unpodcast?
They like your heart.
Yeah.
I keep making fun of the way they punctuate it on Twitter. I don't know if anyone's noticed.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like a To the Ark sort of thing.
They're creeping on us.
Yeah. So I'm a huge fan of the show Friends. It was on when I was young and I watched it, and it was that was the last show that NBC had before they went into the dark days of really crappy stuff that we've so recently come out of on Thursday night. Mm-hmm. I remember the one with the ball. I forgot about it. Thank you for bringing it up.
I love that the titles of Friends are the things that you remember about the episode, like the one with the ball is called The One with the Ball. They're all called The One with Something.
Yes.
Perfect naming device.
It was the paragon of mid to late 90s New York Friends sitcom. It was just the best.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I've watched the entire show on DVD. It was the first show I watched on DVD.
I've not.
Ross and Rachel.
Ross and Rachel. Speaking of Rachel, I think Elaine asked if people think that Jennifer Aniston is still hot. The answer is yes.
Y-E-S, yes?
She's still very hot, and I will cite as evidence the recent film Horrible Bosses.
I would cite either two of her recent GQ magazine covers. What?
Yeah, she's totally still hot. Totally still hot. And who was the singer she was? Was she John Mayer? Was that who she was with?
Supposedly. I don't know.
Yeah. If that actually happened and he like broke up with her, like he's a very, very stupid man.
Well, he's John Mayer.
He's John Mayer.
He's doing fine.
Yeah. So you, Sean, mentioned rugby rules. I've played a little bit of rugby in my time.
I knew at my high school we did not have a rugby team, and I knew all these girls that were in my advanced section, and they weren't like tomboys, but they were all like they were rough and tumble kind of girls. Like they liked sports and stuff, and they started my school's rugby team themselves.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And they played until they left, and as far as I know, the rugby team is still in existence. And I remember my one friend in homeroom, her last name was Martin too, so she sat right in front of me. And she would come in from a game over the weekend, her legs would be purple. Like, she was covered in bruises. Very rough game, not played on horses.
Not played on horses, Elaine. And yes, Sean, you're right about laterals. And I wanted to bring that up because in rugby, you are not... the ball has to be advanced on foot.
Right.
So you can't throw it forward. You can only throw it backward. So that makes that record all the more impressive. I think it was 270 rugby passes because you have to pass it laterally or behind you, which means that they had to keep moving.
Right. And if they passed it that many times, is that in one play? That would be just absolutely mind-boggling.
It was not set during a match or a game. What's a rugby? What is that?
I don't know.
Okay. So I wanted to bring that up because in the United States, the game we call football, which looks a little bit like rugby, was played with rugby-style rules in colleges until 1906. And actually, I believe in Chicago, there was a big convention because like over 100 people died on playing football because it was like so rough and there were not a lot of rules, and there was like this mania of like, football killing hundreds of kids. Panic spreads throughout the Midwest, and actually the president, Theodore Roosevelt at the time, like intervened in that meeting. It was like, you guys need to make this sport safer or like there's not going to be any more of this football. And one of the things that to make the game more interesting, and they made like safety rules, but one of the things that they changed was that you could advance the ball through the air, so you could have a forward pass. And the very first forward pass occurred in my home state of Ohio, further proving that Ohio is the best.
I didn't know you would know so much about this. I've seen the movie Leatherheads. That's about all I can bring to the table.
I know a lot of things as they relate to Ohio.
Okay.
So outside of that, I don't know a lot.
Yeah, I've probably got some interesting Penns Woods history in my head somewhere.
Yeah. So, Elaine, you answer. Everyone got to answer this question but me. I'm the last one. Favorite childhood author? I have not answered that yet.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Okay, I just wanted to say that y'all are like we're little pretentious kids with your C.S. Lewis and all of these like fancy authors. When I was 10, I'm sure that my favorite author was R.L. Stein and the Goosebump books.
I was reading those too. I was reading him, and definitely Louis Sachar, the one that I mentioned on my vlog.
Yes.
And Elaine said she also read him. Ron said he hadn't, and I looked up to see when the first Sideways School or Wayside School story was published. It was 1978.
Wow.
So that's been around for a while.
It has. So I'm pretty sure Elaine said when you were 10, but like my favorite childhood book, if you like expand that age range a little bit to like 12, was definitely Dune, which I've mentioned a bajillion times, and I'm sure David right now is happy. That was my favorite book growing up as a kid. I've mentioned before, like I read it every year. It's an amazing book. It's like life-changing, whatever. So there you go. R.L. Stein, though, Goosebumps. Loved those books. I don't know where they are. They got to be in some storage unit somewhere.
I've got the first 40-something at my parents' house, sitting on a shelf.
I also read those Animorph books. I'm not proud of that.
I have the first probably 20 of those on the same shelf.
Yeah, not proud of that.
I grew out of those pretty fast.
Me too.
It was kind of like it had an interesting start, and then like it just kind of ran in place for a little while. And I was like, even when I was younger, I was like, I'm gonna stop reading these.
Yeah, I think I replaced those with Star Wars books at that point.
I totally did. That is exactly what I did.
Like 9 or 10, maybe.
I spent my middle school years reading endless Star Wars books.
Yep. Well, that was time well spent. That we both of us. Last thing before we get to the questions, I just want to mention that Ron is on fire on YouTube right now. If you are not following him,
he
is
really
putting out
is
some of the most amazing stuff, Minecraft stuff. Like, it's absolutely insane.
His playthrough of Deja Vu, besides of course featuring voice acting from you and I, is phenomenal. I just finished the 4th part yesterday, and I wrote on it because I'm being totally honest. When he says the last line and it crashes to the title, I got shivers down my spine. I was like, that was fantastic.
And such a creative idea. I don't think I've ever seen anyone do what he did. Maybe I don't really follow Minecraft videos that closely, but getting recordings from different people and having those stand in the place of the signs, so smart.
Very smart and well edited. He had to do some tricks I saw every so often to get a voice part to fit in a space, but it was pretty much flawless. If I were doing it, I would have done it the exact same way.
So, like what Ron is doing there that's the like think different, moving things forward. I don't want to be like way too hyperbolic here, but every other Minecraft video playthrough with signs that I can think of, everyone just stops and reads the signs, and eventually you think like that's just what you do. And then here's Ron saying like there are other ways that you can do this. Let's try it a different way.
We're in a video format. We're pre-recorded. Why would we do this live?
Exactly. So I just kudos for him, and then his trailer for Saria is also incredible. Oh boy,
these things will be linked in the info if you've not seen his teaser for Saria. I have no idea what's going on there. I'm really excited. I'm probably excited about it the way he's excited about my project.
You two are there's a lot of interesting projects going on right now.
Every time him and I post something, I feel like we're just trying to friendly outdo each other. Like, look what I can do. Oh, yeah? Well, look what I can do.
Are you like Edison and Tesla?
Uh-oh. I'm David Bowie in this.
You're David Bowie. Am I Christian Bale or am I the other guy? Am I crazy or really crazy?
You're a clone.
We should talk about that sometime. I have strong opinions on that movie.
We've talked about doing Christopher Nolan as a segment.
Yeah.
We should.
We will. Just, we got to get through Marble Hornets. So, the first question, it kind of has an R, Ace of Racing. It's Ace of E-Racing.
Of E-Racing.
E-Racing. There's an R in there. He or she put a very dangerous comment on the video from the last week, and it was us, me specifically, I guess, mentioned something about traffic. This led me to this. How do stoplights work?
Oh, God.
Well, Ace of Racing, I cannot answer that question, not because I don't want to, but because we will lose our entire audience. Because it will take me a day and a half.
We don't have the time or space.
Can't do it. It's a great question. I just can't do it. We'll take forever. We spent enough time on elevators, and that was a really abbreviated version of how elevators work. And elevators are pretty simple, and I didn't even get into like elevators that have like buildings with like really tall buildings with different types of elevators that express elevators, like whatever.
Oh,
we just
God.
can't go there, so we can't go there. And traffic is like oh my goodness, traffic is endlessly interesting. Let's get a real question. This one's from Will, and he asks if in our lifetimes, if there is an opportunity for you to be a colonist on another planet, would you do it?
Ugh.
Sean, would you do it?
Well, based on every science fiction novel that I've read about like colonizing a new world, even one that's not very far away, I don't think I could put up with even the travel time involved, let alone the actual hardships of settling a new territory. Hell no. No way. I can't do it. I'll well wish whoever's going. Good luck.
True. I think my answer is no. Even if it's Mars or further out, the answer is probably no. It's too far. It's too foreign. It's
how far is a trip to Mars? Like 18 months.
It varies.
Currently?
Yeah, 18 months is I think the very fastest you can get there, and I think that it can take as long as 2 years.
Okay.
If we're not talking about just planets, but if we're saying, maybe do something on the moon, then my answer is maybe, because that's much closer.
Yeah.
And we've actually done that before.
I'd say trip to the moon, yes. It takes 3 days to get there.
All right, it's not very far. You can still see the Earth.
Yeah, he said colonize a planet. So
he said a planet, and the moon is not a planet.
If it's a planet, I'm going to say no. I'm going to say if it is our moon, Luna, sure. I'll go to our moon.
Yeah,
if I were offered the trip.
Right. If you said I had to live there forever, I'd still say maybe, but maybe I would be like, yeah, I'll wait till I'm 16. I've kind of done everything I want to do on Earth and then experience space because space is cool.
I think I don't want to spend that long in a module because of every Hollywood instance of things going horribly wrong when you're inside a capsule being shuttled across space, like 2001 or Sunshine, that Danny Boyle movie where everyone went nuts.
Moon.
Ugh. I have told my parents over and over again they need to watch Moon with me sometime and feel the insanity of Sam Rockwell.
It's really fascinating. If and as space travel becomes more common, like we as a society, at least the Western world, have poured a lot of our anxiety about space into art that everyone has seen and is really familiar with, and it's just like that's like, jeez,
But
that's
we're
kind of
still
like
not going anywhere.
we're still not going anywhere. But it's kind of like, it reminds me of like Europe during the Age of Exploration. Like there was a lot of anxiety about like foreign places and people. It was a big deal, and I'm sure that the kind of like pressure and tension and fear that we would experience on going to space is similar to the experiences that those people were experiencing. Traveling across the globe for the first time.
Well, if Newt Gingrich somehow pulls out a win, we will be on the moon in 2020. So hopefully you and I could get a chance to go.
Maybe we'll see. We'll check
I'll,
back
I'll
in.
start my NASA training.
Yes.
I need to
So,
literally become a rocket scientist, and then we can do it.
another random question. This one's from Ron. Do you have a lucky charm?
I don't have a lucky charm, but I do have like a pair of socks that are more comfy than my regular ones. So on a day where I'm like, work is gonna suck today, I make sure that I find my extra comfy pair of socks. I don't think that they like. I don't have any kind of crazy superstition about them making me have a good day. I just I want my feet to be extra comfy today. Which brings me to the point that I should probably just go out and buy a whole bag of comfy socks instead of just the one pair. I should spend some money on socks that aren't as crappy as the ones that I wear most of the time, I guess. I make my own luck.
I don't have a lucky charm. I don't have a lucky charm. I don't have. I have no story. So no.
I think the short story here is that you and I don't believe in luck.
Not really. I'm too much of an analyzer to believe in that. Like one of my coworkers said, "Hey, can we use your data stuff to analyze all of the previous numbers that won the lottery and come up with numbers to win the lottery?" I'm like, it doesn't work.
That doesn't make any sense.
That doesn't make any sense.
That's not the way the lottery works.
I know, so and it's like we're going in circles trying to explain no, don't no, and I think he was like, no, I get it, but
He
is there
just
anything
wanted
you
to.
can do? I'm like, no, there's nothing.
If there was something anyone could have done, they would have done it
exactly
before it got to 600 million or whatever.
That's the point. That is the entire point.
It couldn't be more random. That's why it's the lottery.
So, final question from Ron. Easter themed, I guess, or maybe not. Do you have any strategies, or is there a certain way that you eat a chocolate bunny?
Well, I'll say this. I hate solid chocolate bunnies, because you break your teeth trying to get into that thing.
Mm-hmm.
I like a hollow bunny that I can smash in its face and then eat all the little bits. Maybe I'm just cruel.
Maybe.
But no real strategy like top down or bottom up or nah. I'd break it up and munch.
If I had one in front of me, I would probably start with the ears.
They just stand out.
Right, and it's
you can grab them, break them off.
I can't remember the last time I had a chocolate bunny.
I honestly, I might have been delivered one from my grandmother via my parents last year. I really don't remember. I don't have one right now. I don't have any Easter candy right now.
Yeah, I have none. My mom did not send me anything this year.
I walked past it a million times at work yesterday as they were trying to push it out the door in people's hands. They're like, it's 49 cents. Just get it out of here.
Just get rid of it. What do you do with the candy you can't sell?
We stick it on a discount rack and hope that someone takes it off our hands.
Oh, man. Okay.
Believe it or not, all the candy companies make way more candy than they need to every year.
I think that maybe I should go into like business intelligence for candy companies so they can make better decisions on how much candy to make. I guess that I mean seasonally, you know, it's hard to tell. Uh, Sort of like you know the flu virus, like we were talking about. You know, you never know. Like, are we going to make way too much vaccine, and there wasn't going to be a light flu this season, and not a lot of whatever.
Just like that. How much
Just like
candy
that.
do we need?
How much candy do we need? I don't know. How much have we normally made? Well, we normally made this much. It's like, well, let's make that much. Then who knows? Maybe it's like, yeah, people aren't really into candy though. I don't know.
I'm getting a new job at Hershey next week.
Nice.
Intelligence officer.
Yes. So we have one main topic, and then we're going to talk about Marble Hornets. And let's get started.
Let me tell you how I arrived at our main topic.
Please.
Blame the Controller is a guy on YouTube who he made the Kingdom of the Sky 2 map, and it's excellent, and you should check it out, and I'm a voice actor in it, and it's fun, and you should do it. But anyway, he uploaded a video, which will be in the link dump, that he says, the title, I think, is Mass Effect 3 suffers from Sequelitis. And it's a video of, and I don't know enough about Mass Effect 3 to know who this character is, but there's a character that keeps popping up on the screen while your character, Shepard, is like trying to navigate this little like catwalk that's on fire. And this character keeps popping up and going, Shepard, Shepard! And it just like keeps annoying him. And it's like trying to tell him to go this way and look at this and do this. And when I went ahead and looked at the link in the info of this video, which is a link to Ecoraptor's Sequelitis series, I understood why the specific joke was in here. But I'm going to point out that I don't think Mass Effect 3 suffered from sequelitis. I think all the Mass Effect games just suffer from too much information on the screen all the time, like every RPG ever.
Yeah, I don't enjoy... Yes. It's unrelated to all of this, got out a copy of Knights of the Old Republic because I really like that game.
I own that game now. It was like $2 on Steam, and I couldn't help it.
I had to pay $20 because there are a few good games for the Mac, and I wanted to get a couple. So I have Knights of the Old Republic, BioShock, and Civilization 5. And yeah, there's just a bewildering amount of stuff. I think Knights of the Old Republic gets it okay. The amount of information that you see, and it's not like Arkham Asylum where there's like text everywhere of like telling you about stuff and things are shining and
pictures of buttons that it's like press this button to do this, press this button to do that.
Yeah, there are no quick time events in Knights of the Old Republic that I can think of right now. Someone can call, I can't think of any right now, but there might have been. I don't think there were. That sort of stuff I do find annoying. We're going to actually talk about sequels, but one of the things that Ecoraptor mentions is a reason why he doesn't like a lot of newer games or any games that do this is game developers think that we're dumb.
We're stupid.
Out on our own. A game that I would like. A game that is totally the opposite of this, and it succeeds in. I mean, for a lot of different reasons, is Eco. Have you played?
No, I haven't. I know what it is.
The same team that did Shadow of the Colossus.
Shadow of the Colossus was very similar too, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It was very similar.
Very like you didn't know exactly what was going on. You just kind of had to figure it out.
Right. And you do. So the whole premise of Eco is that you're like a little kid, and you're holding hands with this girl, and you have to like guide her through the game, which sounds annoying, but it actually turns out to be awesome, beautiful. Another game I'm thinking of that I just played, Limbo. There's like nothing on the screen in Limbo,
right?
Except your character, and it's like a side scroller, and all you can do is jump, and that's it. You can go left and right, and you can jump, and you can pull things. And it doesn't tell you. It doesn't tell you very much. You kind of have to figure it out on your own, and you do because you use the same skills in the game that you use in real life to figure things out. People don't need to like have a Google glasses in front of you telling you like turn the knob to the right to open the door. You just figure it out by like experiencing your environment. So game developers think we're really stupid. I'm going to talk about this more at length when we talk more about the content of these videos, but I think it's because of the tastemakers of culture right now, and unfortunately, they're like little teenage kids who are kind of dumb.
Well,
I think that
it's like how long they can play the game before they get frustrated. Like when they do tests, they want to see like how long it takes for subject whatever to figure out how to get out of this room. And that's in the videos, Eco tells us that that is called conveyance. And if the developer can't convey what they need to do without telling you, they decide to, instead of fix it, they decide to tell you. They just
Right.
tell you, this is how you do it. Press X on this thing, and then you can get out.
Mega Man, Mega Man. This guy is really funny.
This video will be in the link dump. It is full of profanity, but
Yes.
absolutely one of the funniest video game analyses I've ever seen on YouTube, period. So funny.
Agreed. Agreed. So I think the one that we're most focused on is the second episode. He's done 3 so far. 2 have been about Castlevania, and this one specifically that we're talking about is about Mega Man. And what he's basically saying is that he loved Mega Man, and I'm sorry, I'm not a huge fan of Mega Man. So
I've never played any of them, so I appreciated his points, but I was just like, oh,
Yes.
cool, Mega Man.
I think you make good points. I'm not a huge fan of Mega Man. I played those when I was younger. They're fine. And he's showing all the ways that Mega Man X, that was the SNES new Mega Man, all of the ways that it sort of embraces and extends everything from the original Mega Man, which Ecoraptor thinks were good. And it's a very good video. You should watch it. Something that I thought of while I was watching this was this is like very interesting content that's like it's wrapped in a YouTube friendly capsule, right?
Right.
What I was thinking this entire time was, oh my god, like I was actually like a little. I thought it was funny. I was a little annoyed by it because I was thinking, wow, he's doing a lot of stuff here to like keep my attention because people tend to like lose their attention on YouTube and like stray away from the video. I wouldn't have if he was making good points, but I also like can listen to a 2 or 3 hour podcast where people are making sort of like, you know, subtle, maybe not quite so interesting points and stay along with it. But the audience on YouTube, you can't. You have to do the things that he's doing. So I think that this guy basically, you know, he had like 15 minutes of stuff he wanted to talk about, and he, you know, came to the logical conclusion: if I want to talk about that on YouTube, I need to have like bright, loud angriness, like spewing out of the screen to make sure that people don't like lose their attention. Which I fault the audience of YouTube. So
Yeah.
I think that this video didn't have to be this way. It was certainly funny. I enjoyed it a lot, but that was sort of something that I was thinking about the whole time.
He basically delivered a bunch of information that has been covered in like boring video game development books that only other video game developers would read for a mass audience consumption.
Totally. Well, one thing it made me think of is CGP Grey. I think that's...
Yes. He does
That's
those history videos.
He does them about everything. He did one about like death to the penny. By the way, Canada is going to remove the Canadian penny from circulation, and CGP Grey was very excited about that because they're smart and we're come on, United States. My proposal has been for a long time: stop making pennies and make all pennies worth a nickel, and we will be able to get rid of those pennies quickly. Whatever. People love Abe Lincoln, vampire killer. He makes similar videos, and I was thinking about that. His aren't like loud and angry like Ecoraptors, but he has to employ a lot of the same techniques, like these jump cuts and lots of bright colored things on the screen, and
Lots of cutaway jokes, visual jokes.
Cutaways. He talks very quickly, and it's funny. And I think that's his personality. But you know, if he did that UK video explained, and it wasn't the same presentation, if he was just saying like laying out those points and not making any jokes, it would not have gotten the kind of views and attention that it did.
Right.
So it's it's interesting to see like what how people have to
How
maybe not how
people
like
capture their audience.
yeah, and maybe it's not like how people change their content, but what content gets pulled up to the top because of the audience. I don't think that either of these. I mean, CGP Grey is very different from Ecoraptor, but I don't think either of them were like, I've got this. I don't think they're like professorial and they're like, I've got to make my video with like swearing and like colors. I think that they were just smart people who could do this and they did it and it became popular. My thought on this, since he's talking about sequels and good sequels and bad sequels, is uh, do we have any thoughts on sequels generally? And I'll tell you, two big things are coming up on Shawn and my calendar, and that's the Avengers and the Dark Knight Rises.
Uh-huh.
Those are two big giant sequels coming out, and I'm trying to tie a whole bunch of things together. And Elaine was talking about books, and you were talking about franchises, and I think that like this is a very interesting time to talk about sequels, and I think it's very timely that Ecoraptor is talking about sequels in video games because it seems like everything is a sequel.
Because you have a built-in audience.
Right. Right. You said that, you talk about franchises, but like a sequel is just an extension of a franchise.
It's so hard to break into a new area. And typically it seems like people want to see a story continue. Like every time I post a new Sims video, in the first like 15 minutes before anyone could have even possibly watched the whole video, I have a comment that says, "Do more." Like, where's the next part? I'm already almost done with this one. Where's the next one? And I feel like after I see every movie now, I see the response on Twitter and people are like, when is the sequel for this coming out? Like, it just came out. Give them 5 minutes to enjoy their success.
I'm thinking of the third Sequelitis video about Castlevania 4.
Mm-hmm.
How Ecoraptor mentioned, I don't think he got at this 100% explicitly the way I'm going to say it, but they basically had, I mean, it was for the SNES and not for the NES, and it basically was like a whole different engine, whole different style, but it just had like some Castlevania assets in it so that they could make it a sequel to Castlevania. But he says something like, if this had been like, with no Castlevania baggage in it, they wouldn't have like the items that came with Castlevania, the original ones. And I'm thinking like, yeah, the developers basically came up with a new game, but then they called it Castlevania, and they put Castlevania assets in it, or revamped assets in it, so that it could be part of this, this line of videos that people have affection for. And I'm sure that if it had been exactly the same, but with different assets and a different name, that it wouldn't have sold as well.
Right. Right. It's marketing.
So yeah, totally. But what's interesting to me is, I mentioned the Avengers and the Dark Knight Rises. Maybe Christopher Nolan will fall on his face, and maybe Joss will too. But I have a feeling that we're gonna be very impressed with those movies. And a lot of times, when we talk about sequels, we're talking about things that we don't like.
Yeah.
Like the Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
I wonder if in some way that the trend of repackaging and repurposing these materials, since it's happening so prevalently, we're just getting good creative people who are good at doing that, as opposed to just churning out sequels for the sake of churning out sequels.
There were two games that came to my mind when I was listening to him talk about. He talked about like theming in Mega Man, and like how at the very beginning of the game you're not even 5 or 10 minutes in, and you basically get the whole context of the entire game. And I thought of two games. I thought of Super Mario World, which does an amazing job of teaching you so many of the basics of the game immediately. And if you've ever played a Super Mario game before, you're just gonna jump right into it, and it'll be like it's the perfect sequel. And I also thought of what, of course, is my favorite game ever, and it is a sequel, Half-Life 2, which also does a fantastic job of showing you how to play without telling you. It will pop up on the screen what key you need to press to do what, and that is it. And after it shows you the first time, it doesn't show you again. You have to go into the menu if you forget. But they do things like, they've got developers commentary on there that if you're interested in knowing how they figured out how to show you stuff, it's all in there. They'll do things like set scripted sequences to take place over here so that you turn that way, so that when you turn that way, you get to see like the giant strider that is walking by or something. Like everything is designed to make you look this way, perform this action this way or whatever, without having to Mega Man without having to shove it down your throat. That's why I was able to do it as a role-played series, because there's never any break. You never break out of first person. You never are being told by some faceless operator in the sky on how to perform this action. It's all immersive and engrossing.
I mean, what is now a classic example of that? A Portal. How amazing is it that they took this incredibly abstract concept, an in and an out, and gravity and inertia, and they teach you how to do it, and you learn how to do it on your own.
Just about anyone that I've seen put in front of that game figures it out. Like it's just so it's intuitive. After you watch just a few things take place, you start putting things together, and your brain figures it out for you.
Yeah, and I'm gonna come that I'm gonna. This is probably my final point. If you have anything else to say, I want to bring it back to the whole interacting with your environment. What bad game developers do is like tell you how to interact with your environment, whereas that's not how we experience reality. That's not how we experience our world. We like do things in it. So I said it would be stupid to have something pop up that says like turn the knob to the right to open the door. You just figure that out on your own, and that's how Portal works. You just move around in your environment and you figure it out on your own by like doing things, and then it becomes sort of like part of your muscle memory, almost like your gamer muscle memory, that they can then give you very difficult tasks that involve all of the different mechanics in Portal, and you can do it successfully because it's now like the avatar, Chell is now an extension of you, and you're like just doing these things. So
if anyone wants to see this in action, watch Carter and my playthrough of Portal 2 co-op, because you get to see us on our learning curve.
Yes, and you get to see all of those moments.
Exactly.
I don't know which one it was, but whatever the one where we had to like slam in the middle, that's one of my favorite experiences in gaming, was figuring that out and having it happen. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, they're brilliant at that. I love it.
We're dealing with a sequel in Marble Hornets. We're in season 2, I guess. Not a sequel exactly, but continuation of a franchise.
They do a good job of making it feel like it is all one piece.
They do. So Shawn wanted me to bring this up, I guess, at the top. You've had some... Is the operator starting to like stalk you? What's going on, man? You've had some weird things going on. I promise this is not a setup for us turning this into like a Marble Hornets thingy.
No, we're not. We're not gonna.
We're not doing that.
No, that's not gonna happen. Don't worry.
This is not an ARG.
I have had strange things happen when I've been watching Marble Hornets videos. Like nothing like in my world, like things flying around my room or something. But like, I've more so than any other videos on YouTube, I've had problems with Marble Hornets videos loading. They get stuck like halfway through, and I'll be watching and all of a sudden it'll stop, and that will scare me. And I'll be like, oh, it's just the video player. And I'll stop and go back and get it to load. I've also had the videos, again, only on Marble Hornets, as I've been playing it, the timer down in the bottom doesn't tick past 000, even though the video's playing, which really freaks me out. And recently I tweeted this picture because I was like, the operator's in my house. I was stuck on my I was on my channel page just on my main screen, and I paused my video, and when I paused it, all of a sudden the frame split in the same way that every time the operator appears near a camera, it did that. And I was like, what is going on in my world?
I didn't understand what you were tweeting. I didn't realize that was. I thought that I didn't go back to 5 things. I thought that maybe you put a split in 5 things, and I just missed it.
No, my computer just did that, and I could move the window up and down, and it stayed like that until I pressed play, and then it cleared it up. I have no idea. And then the last thing, and this was just a bizarre universe coincidence, in the last episode, or the last entry we're going to get to today, there is an appearance of a hooded figure that looks just like a hooded figure I put in our Marble Hornets promo, not knowing that that was going to appear.
I thought that you had looked ahead.
I had no idea. I was just like, you know, it would be scary if I did this, and I did it, and then it was in Marble Hornets, and I was like,
Marble Hornets, why?
So I'm terrified now, basically.
Yeah, I saw a comment. So there are a lot of these Slenderman ARGs out there. Like the three biggest that I know of are obviously Marble Hornets, and then Everyman Hybrid and Tribe 12. And I saw a comment out there, and I've seen all of these now, and I kind of agree with this. Everyman Hybrid has the most heart of all of them, and Tribe 12 has the best special effects, but that Marble Hornets is definitely the scariest. And it is definitely the scariest because it's so real-like. But yeah, it's infecting your world too.
I have not investigated any of these others yet. I will make sure to include them in the link dump for anyone who also has not and would like to check them out.
Yeah, I will say that Everyman Hybrid is a bit of a slog because they kind of spread out over lots of different media. So there's many different YouTube channels, there are Tumblrs, there are tweets, there are recorded live streams. It's kind of crazy. And I think that they've like kind of pulled back and refocused, and they're really just doing things on their channel now. So
it's hard to catch up when you're trying to deal with all that.
Yeah, that's the problem.
It's fun if you're in the middle of it, but
definitely. Like I saw Jay tweet, a couple days ago, like To The Arc posted a response to the newest Marble Hornets video, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta go. And it turned out to be awesome. So,
and it was awesome.
We'll
get there in a week or two.
We'll get there. So the previous batch of entries, this is my biggest complaint for this season. I thought it took too long to get to where we are right now.
Okay.
I thought there was a lot of setup.
The present Jay versus the past Jay.
Yeah, like by the time you get to entry 34, you kind of get the setup for the season. It's like there was this time gap. Jay is, present day, and he's doing some things, and then he found videos from that time gap, and he's going to go through them and reconstruct what happened. And then, obviously, at some point, the timelines are going to like sync up, and we'll be back to Jay's adventures.
Right.
So, but I just thought it took a very long time for us to get to this point. Not that it wasn't fun and interesting and scary and all that, but I just thought it took a long. That's my one critical note for Troy and the team.
I think that they like tying backwards, so it is very possible that all of that stuff in the prior part of the season is going to come back later.
Yes. So now we're back in time, 7 months, and we get one of these videos where nothing happens, but it just has super high tension.
Creepy.
When he goes to see the burnt out schoolhouse. So creepy.
This is one of those locations I was talking about. Like, what is this?
Yeah, it kind of looks like a schoolhouse, maybe like a one-room
It's not a house.
It's not a house. It's definitely not a house.
It's a derelict building, and I mean, it's destroyed inside. It looks like it should be condemned.
Yeah, where did they find this place?
And how were they allowed to film there? Or maybe they weren't allowed to film there. They did it anyway. I don't know.
They have really great locations. They only get better. Like in the first season, it was sort of basically like, yeah, it's a couple of their houses.
Right.
Burnt out schoolhouse, pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
Freaking cool.
This was one of those times that I got mad at the narrator, and then I was like, no, I'm mad at the character, not at the... Because at the end of it, he's like, it looks like I didn't find anything. I sure hope I went back, or something like that. And I'm like, well, then why did he even show this? Oh, no, see there, I'm mad at the... I'm mad at the character. Right. Mad at the character for fooling me into thinking that something was going to happen in this video.
I have a couple of those where I'm like, Jay. Jay is such an interesting character. He's kind of a... He's just stupidly brave. I don't mean that he's brave. I mean that he's kind of just stupid, and it causes him to be brave.
Yeah.
Like, he just goes into these situations, and, like, you read these title cards, and he's, like, they're almost emotionless at some points, and it's like, do you not realize that really crazy stuff is happening right now? Like, you should be freaking out.
Why are you alone? Why aren't you taking someone with you?
Right, and it's just because I think he's not really thinking it through very clearly.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the influence of the operator, but anyway. This is also another week of... I didn't even really take notes on these. Of lots. There was like a To The Arc response to every single video.
And some of them are more interesting than others.
Well, yes. So entry 35. Uh, he goes back to the frickin' place. I think that's another one of those frustrating, like, God. So a thought that I had while I was watching this is, where's Jessica?
Yes.
I don't think that actually gets answered sufficiently to my.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
Yeah. So I'm like, where's Jessica in all of this? What's going on? So
we're limited by what's on the tapes.
yeah. Maybe he edited her out. I don't know. So Jay goes back. Alex is at the house for some reason. I don't know. I don't think it's clear that they went together.
No, he walked in. Then it almost seemed like he was startled when he heard Jay, and he turns around and there's Alex, and Alex mimes like, "Be quiet," and points past him, and then Maskey runs out.
Who causes a lot of distortion, runs out. He goes straight for Alex, stabs him in the leg with a fairly small knife.
What in the world?
It was like a little. It's like a knife that you would be allowed to take on an airplane. It's like teeny tiny, and Alex has a great. There are a couple really great lines in Marble Hornets. And this is one of my favorites. Get the cord.
Get the cord.
Get the cord. So like, I think Alex probably knew something was up, and he was prepared for this. Take the mask off. It's totally Tim. We already know that it's Tim. They've done this before. And Alex is like very intense and wants the knife from Jay, and Jay refuses. So Alex picks up a rock and crushes Tim's leg with it.
Well, we think.
We don't
one of those many instances where we're not exactly shown things, we're told things.
Yeah. And this is one of the title cards that just bugs the crap out of me. It's, I never thought I'd find something like this on the tapes. It changes everything.
It changes everything, period.
Like, dude, really? You think? Really, it changes everything?
There's a fantastic cut in there when he does the crushing. It's like there's not even half a second before it cuts to Jay in the car, and it's very jarring. You're like, oh my God, what just happened?
What am I seeing? So Jay, he says, and it's like, oh, and the tape ends there, and I don't know what happened afterwards. And then I was going to ask you if you know anything about this. He says, like, well, there was some corrupt footage at the end that I was able to kind of like restore. Like, how would you do that? How would it? Do you know anything about like how it would become corrupted? How he would have restored it? Like,
because they're literally dealing with tapes. Yeah. I mean, he could extract the tape from the tape. He could take the tape out of the cassette and rewound it onto some other tape. I don't know. I mean, there's always something that can be done with actual physical media.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not like he's trying to recover lost footage on a hard drive.
Right. Well, like that, I'd almost be like, I would have more of a sense of how you go about doing that, because it's like, well, you can, that data is still there, and there are things you can do. Anyway, so Alex is totally dangerous. That's clear now. He's a dangerous presence in Marble Hornets. I think that's all but confirmed.
Yeah.
Whether or not he's the bad guy or whatever, like, he's dangerous.
To the Arc seems very obsessed with Alex.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I mean, that only becomes more apparent.
It seems like, according to the wiki, a lot of people were under the impression that To the Arc may be Alex, at least at this time. And I would assume, if in the storyteller's mind, going outside of the story, if they see people assuming that it's Alex and they wanted to kind of either mess up their theory, or at least, or if it really is an Alex and they wanted to try and make people stop thinking that, this is what you do. You make To the Arc focus on Alex and be like he's trying to get Alex or trying to find Alex.
Yeah, there's one of the To the Arc videos is like cut up, like a picture of Alex that's all like cut up, and it keeps getting like further and further like cut up, and it's like all To the Arc-y and whatever.
that thing he does.
That thing he does. So Jay's freaking out. Alex is totally dangerous. Things are not good. And then we get, here's something that I wanted to bring up. I hadn't thought about it until I heard this. I've seen this. I've heard Alex's voicemail message many times, but I didn't think about it until this time. He has a very unusual voicemail message. Did you notice this? His voicemail message is, you've reached the phone of Alex Crawley. I'm not answering the phone right now.
Right.
Who says that?
Not, I'm sorry I missed your call, or sorry I'm busy right now.
I'm not answering my phone right now. I don't know if that has anything to do with anything, but like I just found that very unusual.
Every time you hear a subtle detail like that, you can't help but be like, is that part of it? That's got to be part of it, right?
Right. I'll put it in my Marble Hornets book.
Yeah, they highlighted, to the arc highlighted on that, they played it during one of the videos, side tone, and then after it says, I'll get back to you as soon as I can, it flashes to something saying like liar or like he won't get back to you. He'll never return your call.
Yes. He's a jerk. I left him a message and he didn't do it.
That's what To the Arc is upset about.
Yes, Alex never returned one of his calls. So then we get entry 37.
Entry 37.
This is one of my favorites of the entire series. This is amazing.
This has now been discussed on my vlog channel. It will be linked in the link dump because there's a strange amount of info in this bizarre video that I am curious to dissect.
Yes. So this video is one of those we find out in the subsequent entry. Jay didn't post it. Like somehow it ended up on his channel, but he didn't do it. And
we can tell when that happens because the title is messed up.
Right. In the previous one, it was
entry and then a bunch of hashtags.
Right. I don't know if they misspelled entry, but yeah, it had a whole bunch of.
And this one is misspelled entry.
Yes. So this video is very different from all the other videos. I wanted to know how they did this, but it is purportedly from April 4th, 1991.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a birthday party, a birthday celebration for a young lad. Find out his name is Alex through the Happy Birthday song, which they sang.
Mm-hmm.
And then, oh my God. He blows out the candles, and it's the operator.
The operator's like contrasty appearance like flips through the screen a couple times until the blackness of the room is restored.
So I want to know, how long has Alex been affected by this?
Right. This is the first piece in a puzzle that all of a sudden we realize could go back like freaking 20 years.
Yeah. It could totally be that the operator like insinuated himself into this video years after it had been made. But I don't think that that's what they were going for. I think that they were going for like the operator has been involved in Alex's life for a lot longer than we previously thought.
In the first part of the video before they're singing and there are a bunch of kids gathered around, the one who they're singing to later, who's Alex, for like 2 frames, he gets the operator's symbol drawn over his face.
Creepy.
Very creepy.
So Shawn has that vlog up. It's got dates on it. That's the data.
When the operator appears, all of a sudden the timestamp on the video flies through. I think it's 11 different dates, and all of them make sense. Like they are dates and real dates and real times, except for the last one, which is a real date, June 6th, 1944. But the time is 9:99 a.m.
Right.
What?
That's not an anything.
What's going on?
Better set the alarm to cinnamon. It's another XKCD reference, just loaded with them this week. That's a great entry. It gets followed with another entry that is one of my favorites, and that is of Jay and Alex in the woods, and Alex is just like not with it really. He's just kind of like talking. He's not really looking at Jay. It doesn't
even sound like he's listening to Jay.
He's not listening to Jay.
Jay talks and Alex just ignores him.
Yeah. So apparently the woods are dangerous. We should know this by now. Bad things have happened in the woods. So Alex talks about the history of Rosswood Park. And apparently, long time ago, they would take criminals and, murderers and rapists and, whatever. They would tie them up to the trees because the trees grew so fast. And they thought, like, oh, maybe it would stretch them out. But then Alex brings it back, and he's like, but obviously, they didn't feed them or give them water, so they just died. And then
he said that when they tied them to the trees, it was putting them on trial before God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where's he getting his information?
I don't know, right? That's very specific.
It's almost like
And
a
then-
Blair Witch thing, like mythology of this place.
Yeah, this is a very Blair Witchy type of video. Uh, well, anyway, then they just set the tree on fire and then burn up the person. And they stop doing it after. He doesn't say when this happens, I don't think.
No.
So that might be helpful in analyzing.
Was this like the 1830s, or was this like last year?
Right. That's a good question, actually. We don't know a lot about this community. So they stopped doing that when a kid went to that area where they did these trials before God and ended up dismembered and strung up to a tree.
Right.
And then we get to my favorite part of the video, and it's Jay just why are you telling me this? And eventually Jay is confronting Alex, and it's like, I want you to tell me what you're doing. Like, why are we out here? I don't understand what's going on. And there's like a little beat, and Jay says, "Is this why we're out here? To look at trees and tell spooky ghost stories?" And that's when Alex is like, "Follow me. I'm gonna show you something." And then he runs out of film.
And Jay's, it's like, it's not like he even says it innocently. He's like, "Just come here."
Very threatening.
Says it with such malice and intent. But he's got to change the tape, so who knows what happened. We'll never find out.
Right. And I think that this is... I'm not sure. I didn't write this down, but he is at this point looking through both tapes and stuff from the hard drive. And at some point he's like, yeah, I started doing stuff on the hard drive. Here it is. I don't know where it syncs up. It's this video. He's like, I don't know when this happened in the timeline. So then in entry 39, we get this really, really cool shot out of the back of Jay's car where it's Jay and the sun is starting to set and there's water and the sun's hitting the water and it just looks really great. And he's clearly sleeping in his car at this point.
Right. He probably doesn't feel safe anywhere because this tape got delivered to him via weird return address that was not anything.
Right. And Alex has told him, like, lay low, I'll get in touch with you. Jay tries to get in touch with him in this video. I'm not answering my phone right now. So he's like, I'm sleeping in the car. And he keeps the camera pointed at the window. So obviously we know what's going to happen. Someone is going to creep up on him. And someone creeps up on him.
As if on cue.
And then we get a subsequent response from To the Ark that has the footage. So...
It kind of looked like he was holding something in front of his face. And it turns out it was a camera. We get to see Sleeping Jay.
Sleeping Jay.
Aw, tranquil.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's the next morning. Alex has told Jay, be at Rosswood Park tomorrow. He didn't tell him when, because Alex is a jerk.
Yeah, why? He's trying to get a message across. Why can't he be a little more specific?
I know. And I'm just like, I don't understand why Jay slept at Rosswood Park. I don't understand why he's walking around there. This is the stupid Brave thing. Because it's like, that's the Slender Man's turf. That's the operator's turf.
I guess he just feels like in the middle of the day, like,
Maybe.
it feels a little safer. So much has happened at night in the dark.
I guess, but it's like, there's something
I would not be doing this.
No.
Day or night.
Exactly. I'd be like, I'm not meeting you at the park. You crazy? So Jay just decides, I'm just gonna walk around, look at the park. Just wanders around, wanders the trails, and then we get like an extended, while he's on the back trails, there's an extended amount of audio distortion. But it doesn't lead up to anything. It's just like, oh boy, there's a lot of audio distortion. I'm anxious and nervous because human beings don't like that sound.
I assume that every time I hear that, it means that the operator has arrived, even if we're not going to see him immediately.
Right. I think that I don't know every single instance of this, but there is a highly strong correlation with the visual tearing and then the operator being seen. And the audio distortion seems to be... It happens when like people are
it's tied to certain people.
Right. Tim, definitely. Jessica. I think Alex has had audio distortion.
Alex's has come and gone.
Yeah. And then there's also audio distortion sometimes when the operator's around. Although sometimes we just get a visual tear, and then you go around the corner, and there he is.
Yeah.
So this was a really interesting location as well. How'd they find this?
I don't know. They clearly spent that 7 months scouting.
Yeah. I don't even know if this is in the same park. If they found one park with all these great like little set pieces already there, that's pretty cool. But
I somehow doubt it.
I bet they didn't. They found what Jay finds in a big open field is a tree growing out of what looks like a chimney, old chimney or brick structure, and it's also very creepy. Very creepy. So of course, being Jay, he decides to like closely investigate.
Get so close that you claustrophobically can't see anything except like a couple pieces of brick.
Right, and I guess if you're thinking about it, like we're experiencing it like through the camera eye, and for Jay, it might seem like it's right up against the brick, but he's like not, you know.
Right, he's just like standing near it.
Right. So then we get a visual tear. It's the operator.
It's the operator. He looks around the side of the chimney, and you see it for a second, and then I don't know what happens to him, but the camera like goes all over the place, like pointed at the ground, pointed back at the brick, and there's like a really tense couple moments where you're like, maybe he's just waiting maybe he thinks it didn't see him or something. And then he looks around again, and he's even closer, and the camera hits the ground, and you see Jay's head like disappearing into the forest.
Yes,
it's like, I'm getting the fudge out of here.
First sensible thing anyone has ever done is just like drop the camera and run. Just run. And then there's a really weird To the Ark video. It's hand-drawn, like animation kind of thing. It's
hand-drawn, and they did all these fantastic things with they must have had the camera attached to like some special device. They did all these great movements with the camera. It was very good.
It was very good. It's very interesting. Very new. I on all the like forums and the wiki out there, a lot of people think that, you know, maybe this is not the same To the Ark as the other one since it's so different. And then the final entry for the week, and then I've actually started. I kept watching because I couldn't.
You couldn't help it.
Entry 41 is the view of the camera on the ground. Apparently, it's still working. And then it gets picked up, and you don't see who picks it up.
It says how long passed?
40 minutes passed, and then the thing comes back on.
Okay.
I think that's how it went down. And then someone, maybe maybe it's Jay. Who knows? I don't know. Someone picked up the camera and walks back through the trails, and focuses a lot on water.
I mean, the first time I watched this, I don't know. I didn't even think it wouldn't be Jay. I was just assuming like Jay came back and picked it up, and now he's walking out with it. Duh.
Right. Duh. So then we get back to Jay's car. It's open. Someone opens the door, and the camera gets put in there, and it's like on the center console.
I tried a couple times because the camera kind of goes past the rearview mirror. I was like, well, maybe we can see. Nope, you can't see the reflection of anyone in the mirror.
Right, and you don't see a reflection in the glass either when he opens the door. You don't see anything.
Very clever.
Maybe you can take but I don't know how they. You can't see anything. I was like, I think we should be able to see someone there, but they must have like, I don't know what, like.
They made sure the angle was exactly right.
Yeah, so that there was no reflection at all. And then someone walks around the car, and it's a guy in a hoodie with a black mask on.
A very the clown mask is creepy, but also kind of like it almost makes you laugh sometimes. This wasn't really funny.
No, it's just like a matte black mask that has two eye holes cut out, and they're very far separated apart. The where the eyes are, which makes me think of Jay.
Yeah,
his eyes are kind of
Everyone points out that Jay's eyes are far apart.
It's okay. It's not his fault.
People come in all shapes and sizes.
Exactly. So that's where we left. We got this weird hoodie guy. And things are rolling. Things are moving fast.
Like this, maybe this is the reveal of To the Ark. Maybe To the Ark has never been shown on camera until this moment.
That's true. I mean, it is Jay's speculation that the guy in the mask, the the white mask is to the Ark, but he's never confirmed that.
And there's no reason that we can't also theorize that that person is Jay. We can't see him.
Exactly. And I mean, if you want to go out into like theory land, it would make a lot of sense. A lot of the things that have happened, if Jay was doing them and he didn't know he was doing them.
Right.
If he was
we already know that he's doing things that he can't remember, so
exactly. We know that Tim exposed Jay to the operator way back in season 1 in the hallway, and that since that point, Jay was doing things that he didn't remember, which was the entire impetus for filming himself.
Right. And
so,
it's not working out clearly. It's clearly not working the way that he thought it would.
No. And I mean, there is also some, theories, body of speculation, whatever, that certain characters in this show wear a mask because somehow it protects them from the operator somehow.
Well, actually, what I've kind of been operating under the theory of is that the camera is is how people find each other.
Mm-hmm.
I think that once a camera is on a person, that's how they're finding them. I think that's how Alex found Jay.
Mm-hmm.
I think that could be how the operator found Alex. That would be why Alex didn't want the camera in his new place, because as long as he doesn't have a camera, no one knows where he is. And it really seemed like it worked for a really long time until whatever, his stupid girlfriend was like, "What's this? You didn't tell us we had a camera."
Right.
And then all of a sudden everything went to crap as soon as the camera appeared.
That's true.
I want to believe that the camera is the portal into our world for the operator.
I think that's probably fair.
Which means that filming yourself all the time is the worst thing you could do.
Right. Well, that's true. If that's the case, then there's some questions of motivation for Alex and for Jay. Maybe they don't know it, but if
they definitely don't seem aware of it.
No. I've also thought that, and maybe this isn't true. I think that, we have a lot of reason to question Alex's motivations, but that people have been filming themselves because they can't actually see the operator with the naked eye.
That's what I thought that for a while too, but I feel like there have been a couple videos where that kind of was shot down. Like when they were clearing the set in a really early shooting video, like film footage video, it seemed like everyone on the set could see the operator.
That's true.
They were all looking at him. They were all like, "What is he doing?" It didn't seem like they needed to look through the camera to see him.
That's true, but I also that video specifically, I think that's like one of the key videos in the entire series, because what happened to all of those people? Like, they're all gone, and then at some point Alex is like, everybody's gone. They're all, and he doesn't elaborate. So like some event happened to this group of people, and then we only get to see like the stuff that plays out between Alex and Jay, and then Tim a little bit.
I am fairly certain that the biggest thing that has happened has not been shown to us, and who knows if it will be.
Right. That video ends as Alex starts walking toward the operator, and everyone is like, "What's going on?" And I would love to know what happened after that.
In that next 5 minutes.
Yes, what happened to that group of people? What happened to them? What's in the box?
It's the missing link of the series.
Yeah. So I don't know that we'll get up to current next week. In fact, I doubt it, because
finish season 2.
The last 2 videos are both aren't they like 15 minutes long?
There's a 15-minute one, and then there's like a 7-minute, and then there's another 15-minute one.
Yeah, the end is like a lot of stuff happens at the end, so we might have to do it in 2 parts. But I'll figure that out, and I'll make a game day decision.
Oh boy.
Maybe. Oh boy. If we do try and finish next week, we probably won't have time for a lot of main topic. We may not do a main topic next week. We may just do Marble Hornets.
Marble Hornets season 2 wrap up.
Yeah, maybe. So we might just do follow-up on Marble Hornets. Or, we'll decide later in the week. If there's something interesting that we want to talk about, we might have to split it up.
As we often do.
But I think we'll assign everything, but we might not talk about everything.
Okay. I'm assuming that if you're this far in the story, you're like what you just experienced this morning. You don't want to stop.
Yeah, I agree.
You're just right in the middle of it, and you're like, oh my god, what is happening? That's what happened to me. That's how I watched the whole thing in like 2 days.
And now you're like downloading stuff and putting.
I'm doing screen caps and I'm stepping through videos and oh man, one thing that they take advantage of that I never even thought of before is YouTube always cuts off the last frame. Always.
Mm-hmm.
And if you download the video, you can see the last frame. So every so often they intentionally hide something on the last frame.
Has there ever been? Well, I don't know. You probably haven't cataloged everything, but has there ever been a last frame that was really important in an entry, or is that mostly just?
I don't think so. I think it's mostly to the arc. Those
Oh boy.
guys, they're clever. They're them and their tricks.
Those guys. All right. Well, the homework will be through entry 52, and we'll get the specifics with the to the arc responses and all that jazz. Marble Hornets, why?